Gentlemen,
Yes.
Britain is in decline, and the right-wing political landscape is in chaos. The Conservative Party is in a tailspin, and Reform UK is stumbling from one era to the next. The British people are crying out for leadership, and there's a yawning gap in the market for a serious, authentic vehicle around which the country's conservative-minded majority can rally, organise and exert influence. Many have tried to fill this gap, but many have failed because of a variety of reasons, including, mediocre ideas, mediocre personnel. But now, I am pleased to announce that alongside Rupert Lowe, I'm working with others on Restore Britain, which is the answer to this problem. It is our vehicle it is our centre of gravity for all of the sound people and all the people worth listening to on the British political landscape, and every person who is concerned about the future of this country and its present trajectory in terms of, politics, economics, culture, and society in general. We are not a party, we are a movement. We're some combination of a pressure group, a think tank, and a mass movement. And we don't endorse any parties, we don't endorse any personalities. We exist purely to act as a mouthpiece for ordinary British people who are concerned about the way this country has been governed for the better part of 30 years. So, our objectives are as follows. The first and foremost is, as I've said, to act as a political centre of gravity for authentic, conservative-minded people in Britain, and we want to build and mobilise a substantial membership. And we launched yesterday at 12 o'clock, and our X account almost has 100,000 followers, and we have thousands and thousands of paying members already. Yes. So we are, there's a momentum there already that I don't think has been seen in any other organisation in recent history, except for possibly Reform.
Well, I'm one of them, because I saw this tweet pop up, and I know, you did as well.
Yep,
and Rupert's obviously a very sensible chap.
Yeah.
And it takes like 2-3 minutes.
Yes.
On the app, it's very simple. You just do blah, 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 Google Pay and whatever, and you're done.
And it's £20, so it's the price, as Rupert likes to say, of 2 poorly priced pints in some kind of London pub. So, yes. Our priority with this membership there are several reasons for this. First and foremost is we are going to, membership is open to anybody with £20 who cares about the future of Britain, and we're going to be polling our members on all of the most, pressing issues of our time, from immigration, deportations, energy, housing, crime, social issues, family, and so on and so forth. And we're going to generate mass-scale political intelligence from our sample of thousands of people, thousands of ordinary people, to present to the government and to present to other political parties and to present to the media to basically say, look, this is the authentic voice of Britain. We are the centre of gravity for people who really care about this country, and this is what those people think. I think alongside that, we're also going to be mobilising that membership to get parliamentary petitions over that 100,000 mark. So already, we ran a petition a couple of weeks ago. I think it actually might have been 1 week ago.
Yeah, I think it's about a week, isn't it?
Yeah, on Lucy Connolly. Yep. And in less than 24 hours, we got 100,000 signatures. Now, I want you to imagine what it would look like if we were doing that every week, multiple times a week. We would bring Westminster to a standstill, and we will own the conversation.
And the thing with Rupert is, that he's a very effective parliamentarian.
Yep.
I mean, he's head and shoulders above the rest of them in terms of he's being able to use his vehicle of being an MP to bring issues up and press things.
Well, that's one of the most important points. It's the thing that we missed when we were in the European Parliament. We could say what we liked in the European Parliament. We had some good images, we had good pictures, and we had good speeches. But in reality, being able to pressure the local and agenda in the United Kingdom, it's much more difficult unless you're in Parliament. Yes. But I got a question, and Charlie, you started that there saying we wanted to be an authentic conservative group, but I don't hear the kind of conservative patriotic part, because a lot of conservatives are just not patriotic.
That's very true. I mean, that word, it's one of those ones that you can read your own meaning into. I mean, in the past, I've said that I'm not a conservative, because I think with the condition of the country being what it is today, to be conservative is basically to wish to preserve that kind of post-1997 political order and social conditions that have existed for that time. When I'm talking about being conservative in this context, what I'm talking about are people who are not up for any of the stuff really that's been done over the last 30 years, who feel that something has gone deeply wrong in this country. I'm talking about the people, by the way, that Bob Villan was talking about when he said, you want your country back, shut the F up.
So we're looking at the small c conservatives, people who are quite happily with family, faith, and on our nationhood, looking at the royal family as being key, armed forces, all of that.
People who recognise this programme, this, the project of multiculturalism, net zero, social progressivism, woke, whatever, all of them have been hugely damaging to this country. And actually, speaking personally, I'm hoping to bring children into this country in the very near future. I look at the prospects, I look at the fact that they're hopefully, God willing, going to be alive to see the turn of the century, and I imagine what this country is going to look like at that time. Well, and it's people who have that same terror at what is, what we're staring down the barrel of right now in this country.
I have a 12-year-old, so this is one reason why I'm still here, still fighting, still battling to ensure that we've got a nation. As we saw statistically came out today, I don't know if you watched the ONS figures, 33.8% of all live births were non-UK citizens.
Yes.
Of which Indians, Pakistanis led the top 10, and out of those top 10, apart from Romania and Poland, the eight other countries all mirrored those who were coming across on the boats.
Yes.
Well, and that's why we actually need something like this, because you ask Nigel Farage that question, he'd say, well, that's why we need to appeal to Islam, because they're going to be the majority. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it. We just have to appeal to them.
And that's the point. We want to show political leaders in this country what British people actually think. And that doesn't just include Reform and Farage. It includes the Conservatives. It also includes Labour and the Greens and the Lib Dems. It includes everybody, because Rupert himself has already shown that he has the ability as an independent MP to command the discourse in this country and to shift the Overton window in a really meaningful way. And so with this organisation behind him and with a mass movement of people behind us, I think that the sky's the limit, basically.
So why is it a movement, not a political party?
A political, now is not the right time for another political party, in our opinion, because political insurgency of the type imagined by some people it's just not possible. It's a fantasy in this country. The system is not geared towards a tiny party, kind of getting in and winning a majority. Reform.
But that's what Reform's doing.
Well, what I would say about Reform is it's true. Nigel Farage obviously has been in the political landscape for decades, and Reform are, they are tacking to the centre in a way that suggests that they're not actually that different from the established parties.
Right.
And so in that sense, it's in a way not actually a political insurgency of the type that I'm describing, because what I'm talking about is an authentic, expression of the interests of British people making that inroad. And I'm not, I'm a member of Reform, and I remain a member of Reform because, as I say, Restore Britain is not a political party, and members of any party are welcome to join. But I think Reform needs this pressure on them to...
I suppose also being a movement, it keeps all of your options open.
That's right. Yeah.
So you can become a political party, you can take over a political party, you can do something else. You basically got the option to do whatever you like from here, and you've got that momentum.
Yeah, we're not closing off any avenue. All of these things. We're one day. We're not. It's not even. It's been just over 24 hours since we launched, and already there's this huge momentum. But we're keeping all of our options open because why wouldn't we? Because our interest is not party politics. Our interest is saving Britain. It's restoring Britain.
But that's where the dichotomy comes, and the real issue that you've already pointed again. You can't restore Britain through a petition.
That's very true.
You can only restore Britain by taking power.
Yes.
And this is when I met Mandelson in the early days of when I was part of the Fabian lefty lawyers, on the sort of hated group that I looked around me and went, I can't be like these sort of people, and that's why I left. But I do remember very clearly with Mandelson talking to myself and Derek Draper and a couple of others at the time who was his chief of staff. He said, Stephen, it's not about principles, it's about power. I need power. Labour needs power. We can't change this country without power. So they felt at that time, in the pre-Blair period, that all Labour was a pressure group. They weren't successful. So they had to transform themselves. So isn't that the big issue? Why I mention it, because that's where we've got this kind of issue between Rupert and the movement, which I tend to agree with. But also you've got Ben, who wants the political party, who wants to do that transformation.
Yes.
And to take Farage on and to defeat them at the ballot box, you'd need a party. So isn't that the big issue that you're going to have to face someday?
So, and actually, before you answer that, can I just add in a supplementary question? What is the relationship with Ben's thing?
So there is no official relationship with Ben's thing. There was a difference of, an intellectual difference between Ben and Rupert. They were talking, but Ben was dead set on starting a party. We felt that wasn't the right strategy because, as you say, obviously power is the ultimate objective here. Yeah. Because I think the right, many of us are sick of being right but continuing to lose.
Absolutely.
And I think to start a party at this moment is to wish to continue to feel correct and feel vindicated, but to continue to lose. And so make no mistake, Restore Britain is a strategy to power. It's not just a talking shop.
Well, that's what we want to hear.
Yeah, it's part of a strategy to power, because we wouldn't be doing it otherwise. And I wouldn't be putting my name to it otherwise, because that's all I care about is saving Britain, and power is a necessary prerequisite to that goal. And so actually, I think as much as you say starting a party in the pursuit of power maybe at one level makes more sense, I actually think that that's doomed to fail.
No, I wasn't saying we needed a party just now. I just say that there will need to be a party.
Yes.
That either encapsulates what the movement is, or the people within the movement, or the ideas that you've created. To be able to go to the ballot box and persuade the British people that it's not reform, that he is now that they and Zia have just moved too much to the centre, and the Conservative Party are deadbeat at 9% in certain areas. They're not going to come back.
Well, I can tell you,
it's fantasy world if people think even in 4 years.
That said, I can see a certain elegance in. So Reform are a bit of a wrecking ball at the moment, and they're going to wreck Labour and the Conservatives. But I think what a lot of the sort of normies have not realised yet is just how compromised they are on so many issues, and the kind of the real character of Nigel Farage. So there is perhaps value in letting the existing system get completely tossed upside down, while a movement is building that can then roll into something.
Yeah, so this is the great advantage of Rupert being in the position he's in, because he is, in being an independent MP and now being the leader of Restore Britain, he is uniquely positioned above the fray of party politics to actually move the discourse in its totality. Because the great genius of Blair, for example, was not that he transformed the Labour Party in his own image, it's that he transformed the Conservative Party as well in his own image. And what we're seeking to do is far more ambitious than any one party. What we're seeking to do is shift the discourse in Britain in its totality, because if it can be shown not just to Reform, not just to the Conservatives, but to Labour, the Lib Dems, the Greens and all the rest of them, that we are where the will of the people is, we are where public sentiment is, we are where victory and power is, then I think everybody will start to get on board.
So I like that, because if you were to form as a party, every other political party would instantly see you as an enemy.
Yeah. Any relationships that Rupert and has built up with other MPs and parties and all the rest of it would instantly be killed, because he becomes a rival castle. He becomes an enemy politically.
If he's leading a movement, they can basically take those ideas or take his lead. Yeah. And ultimately, what we care about is getting our ideas implemented. Ultimately, we just want power for our guys. Yes. But in the meantime, because that's such a hurdle to climb, getting these people to onboard our movement, your movement, just as good.
And I won't reveal too much at this stage, but over the coming weeks, we will be announcing our advisory board. And this is going to include people who viewers will all know, who are the heaviest hitters, the most serious thinkers and activists on the British political scene. And in the spirit of being non-partisan, we've had real interest from a number of MPs across multiple parties. So this is what we're trying to build. We're trying to build a genuine cross-party movement that speaks for the interests of ordinary people. So I will just continue, because we've got off track of my notes here. Indeed. So we're going to be around the key issues that I've talked about, that we're going to be polling our members on. Yeah. We're going to launch basically individual campaigns on all of those issues. So already we've got it on screen here. I don't know if we can scroll down. We've released a number of policies that we are going to be championing, like, for example, net negative immigration. This is basically the notion that more people need to leave than are coming in effect. So the population is actually...
Is that remigration, or is that a step before?
Yeah, I mean, remigration is one of these terms that's thrown about. It means different things to different people. Whereas net negative immigration, I think, is quite clear. It's quite clear what we're talking about. We're talking about a shrinking population, reversing mass immigration, reversing the Boris wave, as it says in the graphic there, and essentially encouraging those who can't speak English, or who live in social housing, or who claim benefits, or who refuse to work, who break our laws, and just generally seem to hate
But
this
net
country
negative could mean that 300,000 Brits give up and go and live in Spain every year, and then 250 people from Pakistan.
That's very true. That's very true. And there is certainly, there's nuance to this, because I agree that would be a huge problem. But we're talking about reversing mass immigration. We're talking about reversing the policies that have been brought in over the last 30 or so years, that have led this country to be demographically transformed in many areas.
I've worked on this now for nearly 12 years, and done at least 2 policy papers on the idea of reducing immigration. The best I could get it down to was to 50,000 net migration.
It's damn sight better than 1 million.
Yeah, no, it was, and I still got lots of things that we could do on that, but to get to, I mean, the idea initially with net immigration is quite difficult to get net immigration, because you're basically saying no one comes to the country apart from those that we amount to leave. And that's an incredibly difficult thing to do. But as an aspiration, I think that's something that we should have.
Tone.
Yes.
No, you do. You've got to set the tone.
Planting a flag.
Yeah, you have to set that tone.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to turn around and suggest that we can reduce out of the 4 or 5 key pillars of what immigration is into this country, that you can reduce the big ones. And the big ones, it's students up there. Family reunion, that I've always said has to go.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have any family reunion.
Yeah.
And then also look at legal migration. I mean, my view on legal migration is people should not be allowed indefinite leave to remain. They should only have visas that allow them to stay here for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years maximum.
Totally. Yep.
So that also then counts to come in. And it's also in some ways a very positive way if you're looking at this. Say you want nurses coming from Thailand, or where we're picking them up a lot at the moment. You're only here for 3 to 5 years. You can't live here. You'll never get indefinite leave to remain. But when you go back, you've got the skills that you've learnt here back in your own country.
Totally.
So it's a reverse colonialism.
Yes. And as I say, I mean, really, like we're 24 hours from launching, and what we're doing right now is, we're basically making statements of intent about what it is we want to say. So we've got net negative immigration. There you go.
Yeah.
Country back.
Absolutely.
We want to restore the death penalty, which is a widely popular policy for the likes of Axel Rudy Cubana and others who have committed heinous crimes.
Actually, the Manchester Arena, but there's no reason they shouldn't be boiled or hung or something.
It's an injustice. Every minute that they breathe is an injustice, and it keeps the trauma that they inflicted on the families and our country in general. It keeps it alive, all the while they continue to live. So we've got that. 50,000. We hit 50,000 in about 10 hours, and we're on nearly 100k today. As of today. I'll just keep going through some of these policies just to give you, continue to give you a flavour of what it is we're trying to do here. Deport all illegal immigrants, mass deportations.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely crucial.
Just go up slightly.
Yeah.
A bit more.
It's you, isn't it?
A bit more. Elon Musk.
That's right.
Oh yeah. No, he clicked into on that.
Rupert and I both spoke to Elon yesterday.
I don't know who that handsome young chap is there.
Oh, interesting. Viewers may know that Elon Musk follows both me and Rupert on X. So we both spoke to him yesterday, and he's been very supportive of what it is we're trying to do. So that's quite promising.
Very supportive verbally or checkbook?
Not checkbook yet.
No.
Right.
Hey. Mass deportations, I think it's self-explanatory. This is a mainstream position now. This is a position that's being adopted by everyone from the Tories to Labour. I mean, Labour are even speaking in these terms now.
Well, they won't actually do anything.
Well, of course
neither
not.
will the Tories.
But it's about where the discourse is. And look at that.
I don't know who those two handsome chaps now.
Banning the burqa again. This is so crucial because it just this cultural religious practice has no place in Britain.
I actually disagree with that one because it makes it so visible. The rate of decay.
That's quite a compelling argument, to be fair. Yeah. But again, statement of intent. We don't want this kind of thing in our country. It has no place here. Net negative immigration again. You get the idea, right? Yeah. So I'm always also, by the way, keen to hear viewers' opinions on the kind of aesthetic that we're going for here. Because I think graphics are very nice, but that's because I made them.
Did you do them?
That's because I made them.
It was quite bold because you're going off that you often say don't use red today, but you've gone to this kind of. I'm looking at this branding slightly off reddy brown, which worked really there. So
glad to hear it.
You're not pushing off the women with the colour of red.
Indeed. So on these key issues, we're going to be launching essentially campaigns around each one. So each one will have media coverage, articles, op-eds, videos, graphics, and most importantly, freedom of information requests, research, and petitions. Right. So we're going to on all of these issues, we're going to be launching all of those things, and we're going to make it impossible for the leaders of this country to ignore these issues. I haven't said this already, but I'm going to say it a lot from now on. Lotus Eaters viewers, join Restore Britain, because this is how our voices get heard. This is our vehicle for pushing our ideas and our vision of this country into the mainstream.
What I'd like to see is when you get over the 223,000, which is the membership of Reform.
That's right.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
And in not too distant future.
Yeah. Well, again,
these numbers,
members of Reform are welcome to join. Anybody is welcome to join if they've.
Well, half of our viewers are not based in the UK, so are they welcome to join?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean, if you care about Britain and you care about the future of this country, and you have 20
there'd be a lot of Anglo-Americans watching.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, this is the mother country. You should care about what's happening here, and presumably that's why you're watching this channel. And we're also on the kind of think tank side. Stephen, you touched on this already. We are going to be looking to produce research and thereafter research-driven policy. So obviously these are statements of intent with kind of high-level, somewhat low-resolution arguments included, but what we want is we want the data, and we want the specific laws that need to be repealed, and we want the specific laws and measures that need to be passed. Douglas Carswell, for example, is a great kind of
he's done some really good stuff on the Privy Council, and I've been asked by others to another organisation to kind of work towards the laws in the immigration field, what we need to repeal across the whole spectrum thing. I mean, isn't it something nearly like 40, 50 different pieces of legislation and regulations that need to go? Yeah. I mean, it's a huge amount in that, because it has its tentacles, oddly enough, go across so many different spectrums on that. So.
We will also be running events and conferences and this sort of thing, bringing people together in person, because the power of that cannot be understated. And of course, we will be... True. Yeah, we'll be inviting MPs, think tanks, press, donors, and of course our members, and anybody else who wants to come and discuss the condition of this country and where we go from here.
So if you are a sensible young lady, that sounds like an excellent place to find a husband.
Probably, yeah. yeah, that sounds good.
Ali, I know he's not offering himself up there.
No, I'm a happily engaged young
Good man, well done.
So that is the vision. Okay, and our strategy going forward basically is to just own the conversation in British politics. But the only way we can do that is with a sizable membership. So once again, Lotus Eaters viewers, please join up. Your contributions are what make this possible. We are a very small team, and we're trying to do a huge amount here. And I think that we have something here that could change British politics in a major way, and in a way that is basically unprecedented. So I think that's more or less everything I had to say.
Well, I'll put a couple of questions to you then. I've seen a couple of sort of questions and reservations that have cropped up on the right in response to this. One of which being, isn't it spreading it thin that you've got reclaim and reform and heritage and homeland and a whole bunch of other ones, and now there's another thing to put the rights energy across. How would you address that one?
Well, I would quite simply say that we are not a party, so we're not splitting any votes, and members of all of the parties that you've just listed are welcome to join us. So that you can be a member of Reclaim or Reform or whatever, and you can join us and use us as a mouthpiece to make your voice heard. Because again, we've touched on this already, but the reason that we didn't want to go down the party route is because it's so limited in its scope, and
and you have your bank accounts frozen.
Yeah, so there's that as well. Yeah. And it's the ability to actually affect change through a vehicle like a party in our system is incredibly limited. And I mean, what Reform has done. That's the first, with the polling that the level they're polling at now, it's the first time that's been done in 100 years, right? It's not often that you get a breakthrough insurgent party in this system. And even now, as we've noted already, they're kind of going to the center. Like the system is containing them. Whereas a movement, a mass movement that exists above the fray of party politics, that can command the discourse in its totality and essentially set the marching orders for what everyone in Westminster is going to be talking about, that has far more power than a party.
I've seen it happen a couple of times. We obviously, when we were in the European Parliament, we had the Five Star movement, who began with a movement with Guiga, and he was a really challenging individual, and he transformed particularly the south and the middle, but also then started to break into the north of Italy, where they weren't really kind of the idea of having that kind of five-star movement. And then the movement transformed itself into the political party and was able to win extensively first through the European parliaments and then get into legislation. And of course, the MAGA movement was not necessarily, it came off the Tea Party. And there's still Tea Party movements there, but the MAGA party came out of that once the Republican Party had tried to suppress them.
The Tea Party was enormously successful. It wasn't a political party.
It wasn't a political party. And so you have events such as CPAC, which enable to come, lots of people of the conservative right in America were able to come across. And in many ways, I see that yourself, Restore, as that kind of CPAC. In the sense, because you've got the political think tank, you've got the individuals, you can bring a big event in London's Westminster and have people from all different political spectrums there. But at the time you make that change, all those other political parties you've talked about, they're going to have to make a decision. Because if the movement is big enough, if the momentum is there, the challenge will be either the movement crushes the Conservatives, or what's left of it, has to take on reform because they'll be the dominant figure. And anyone else left simply doing it because of egos will have to just go by the side, because you're 3,000-4,000 polling wherever you go. It might suit you well. They'll have to either wake up or go away, because I think the challenge is, as you say, if we're going to take on Labour and the left, there's only room for one.
Yes. Well, there we go. I think that's pretty much, unless you had any other questions, chaps.
Only one other question, which is, a lot of people have been saying, yes, I like this, but it needs to be filled with our guys. Is it filled with our guys? Well,
as I say, the team is very small, but look, I'm not being funny. I've been coming on Lotus Eaters for a number of years. I've, written things in places like the Daily Mail. I've written about English identity politics in the Daily Mail, and why democracy is failing in Britain and why young people are disaffected from democracy. And I've also, I also appear on here, and I go on GB News, and some of the stuff that I get,
and you can vouch for all the other behind the scenes guys.
Yeah, well, some of the stuff that some of the stuff I'm able to get away with saying for whatever reason on places like GB News and Talk TV and LBC. I know what time it is in this country, people, and I'm putting my name to this. I'm going to be a public-facing spokesperson for this organisation, as I have been today, and I wouldn't be doing that if I thought this was in any way going to fail. I think we're going to win. I think this is going to work, and in terms of behind the scenes, I think it's people I trust.
It's going to be who you see on the advisory board, who you see is going to be the spokespeople, and who's going to be dealing with your policies. And once the names of those individuals come out, that's where the movement is going to be seen, whether it's on our side and it will be. I'm absolutely certain. You won't be in there. Rupert won't be in there. He's not got the right people in there.
Rupert knows what time it is as well, and there's nobody better positioned than him to lead something like this. So,
absolutely.
Lotus Eaters viewers, tell your families, tell your friends, join Restore Britain, and this is our vehicle. Let's do it.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.